And now, after years of planning, sweating, and going broke, here is the Boots and Whiskey Podcast with Jim Belisle.
I'll alert the media.
Why they would give this man a podcast is anyone's guess.
Then there is what could only be a bizarre coincidence or something else.
Welcome to the Boots and Whiskey Podcast with Jim Belisle.
Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
Country music and fine moonshine. Finally, a podcast that lets it all hang out.
Let's level with America.
Got your boots? Ready for some whiskey?
These boots are made for walking.
One of these days, these boots are gonna walk all over you.
And now, the Boots and Whiskey Podcast with Jim Belisle.
Hey everyone, Jim here, Boots and Whiskey Podcast. Welcome back to another episode. Today we have Garrett Bradford on the show. Garrett released a new album last Friday, called, what the hell is it called? Honkiest of Tonkers. Honkiest of Tonkers, Act 1. Yes, that is right. The brain sometimes needs a minute. But that is what it's called. Go get it. It is out now. It's great. It's awesome. We talked about a little bit about that. We also did discuss in the episode that the album would come out on Friday. I fucked up and mixed the dates up. Sorry. So it came out last Friday, which is fine because he was on other podcasts and stuff last week. So this week it's fine. It's fine. We're fine. Everybody's fine. That's out now. We talk a lot about Yellowstone. We talk about all kinds of things in this episode. So sit back, relax, enjoy. A big thank you to Garrett again for being on the show. And that's really it. You know, I'm going to keep these intros short, I think, from now on because it's so much to do. So thank you for being here. Thank you to DCU Center, Off the Rails, LH Coffee. Who else? Bar Book, 10th Mountain Whiskey. And before we get into the episode, a big thank you to everyone at PBR, Pendleton Whiskey, Beatbox, Off the Rails, DCU Center. We got to see the Velocity Tour both nights, or both days, at the DCO Center this past weekend. We got some cool things to put out there. And yeah, we have a great time every year with PBR. And this year was probably the most fun we've had. So thank you to everybody that was involved. And sit back, relax, enjoy the show. Cheers, guys.
Well, it works pretty good, though. I'm learning about all this stuff. I hadn't even really done much Zoom or anything until putting out this record, and Christy and Juliana, they got me doing all kinds of different things.
Yeah, man. It's, it's one of those things. We weren't doing video until, I wasn't doing video because I didn't want to deal with it, right?
Right.
And I don't edit any of this shit, so it's like whatever we talk about is going into the ether.
Let it rip.
Right. And I had gotten a call from somebody who I've become really good friends with that works in Cody Jinx's camp.
Yeah.
And she goes, "Hey, I can get you Cody." And I was like, well, I guess I got to learn how to do video at that point.
No, I'm going to have to do it.
Right. So ever since then, like, I've been doing it and it's been easy and it's, it actually gives us more views than I ever thought it would.
Really? I bet I could see it making a difference. I feel like, especially here in the last few years, everything's got to have a video.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even have to be like fancy.
Nope.
You know what I'm saying?
Not
In
at all.
fact, sometimes it's worse when it's like I noticed on social media and stuff. I've taken the time. I have a buddy that's a videographer, and we'll use this good camera and set stuff up great. And they don't do any better. A lot of times they do worse.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the wildest thing. Like, because you're right. I see friends of mine that do kind of like a similar thing that I do. And like, they do the production and they get a great camera and they do all this stuff. And it's like, all right. And then like, I'll go out with just my phone and, record something stupid. And it's like, it's getting the same amount of views as their stuff is. And it's like,
I don't think people care as much anymore.
I really don't.
And also, I was thinking about it too. It's like, at least in my case, sometimes when I see something that's real nice, it seems like a commercial to me.
Right. It feels fake.
Yeah, it feels way more like way less authentic. And if I see somebody just like sitting in their room or something, it's like, oh, okay, I want to see
Yeah,
what this
yeah.
guy got.
Right. It's kind of like, you'll see it sometimes where like they'll do like, podcasts and like they'll have their headphones on and their microphones and it's like I think to myself like, is that shit even plugged in?
It's probably not even plugged in.
Right? Like, come on. Give me a
I
break.
I used to have a buddy. I mean, he's still my buddy, but we lived together in college and stuff. And he didn't play any music at all. But I would get him up on stage, and I was playing with the band, and I'd give him a mandolin, and it wasn't even plugged in, and he didn't even know how to play it. And he'd get up there for 2 or 3 songs, and our friends would be like, "Oh my gosh, Rich, I didn't know you played. That's so cool." It was like our little inside joke. I was
That's
like, "I asked
fucking
my mandolin
awesome.
player, Rich, to come up play a little mandolin for us on this
I
next
love
song."
that. Where did you go to college?
I kind of did the Texas college tour. I think I went to the most colleges of anybody without getting a degree. I went to I went to Tarleton State University, which is in Stephenville, Texas. That's where actually Coetzel went there. We were there at the same time, which is really funny.
Did you know him?
Yeah, at the time I did. Him and his roommate
Yeah.
KJ. I was pretty good friends with his roommate KJ, and I would go over there. I probably went over there 3 or 4 times and jammed with them, and then I'd see them around campus and see them. They would play at like some of the local bars and stuff. I didn't. Right at that time, I was still writing and playing, but I wasn't really out gigging for those first 2 years of college. And then
Yeah.
I went to junior college. After that semester there, I came back to my hometown in Weatherford, which is only 45 minutes away. Did junior college, and then I almost finished at Stephen F. Austin, which is a state university down in East Texas. I was a political science major, and I had about one semester left. And I went back when I was like 26. So
Yeah.
I took a big break in between. I went for like
Bro.
1 year uh, when I was 18, and then came back when I was like 26. And then I started looking for jobs. Man, they were the worst paying job. They were the worst jobs ever. And I'm like, well, I'm done, guys. I'm gonna go do music. So
Yeah. Dude, I have
I guess
I
I could
was
finish one of these days, just to
so
say that I've done it.
I I have my degree in political science.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Were
Yeah.
you gonna go to law school or
So
not?
I had thought about it. Like, I was actually just telling somebody this the other day. Like, I wanted to go into con law, like really bad. And honestly, I don't have the patience for school anymore.
It's
Right.
so tough.
And like once I was done, like, it took me 6 years to get a 4-year degree.
You like me
So
then?
yeah, so I was like done. I was like, you know what, I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
And I majored in poli sci. Actually, I double majored. I majored in that and in secondary ed, and then I got my minor in U.S. history, and
I love history,
I
man.
do too.
I
I
thought
do
about
too.
majoring in history like when I first went to school, but then I was like, I don't know if I want to be a teacher, and
Yeah,
I thought that was probably about the only thing I'd do with it.
yeah. Like, cause I started doing like student teaching and stuff, and when I was in like my second to last year of college, and at that point I'm like 21,
Yeah.
22, and I wanted to teach high school kids, and like these are kids like 17, 18, like so we're not far off, and I'm
Right.
like. I can't, like, we're too close in age. Like,
It's
I'm
hard to
not
get
ready.
their respect when you're only like 3 years.
Right.
I had a friend that was doing kind of the same thing, and it was funny. She came back and was teaching in Weatherford, and she was really young, she got her degree like real early too. I think she was a full blown teacher, like 21 or something. And there was a kid, the freshmen from when she was in high school were seniors then. When she was a senior, those kids that were freshmen
Right. Yeah.
cracked
Yep.
me up. I was like, man, that's gonna be tough to get their respect when they
Right.
remember you
And it
from high
is.
school.
It is. Because I did my student teaching in the town that I live in, and it was the same kind of thing where it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I know your brother or sister, or I know that, or you guys were coming in while I was going out, and it's like, this is stupid.
Now that it's funny because at the time I wouldn't have wanted to be a teacher, but I mean, obviously I want to keep doing music. But as I've gotten older, I'm like, it will be kind of cool to teach. Like, I can start seeing the rewards of it, like the impact to be a good teacher, and
Oh,
actually get
absolutely.
kids interested in history and all that stuff would be pretty
Yeah.
neat.
So when you started out, when you were going to college and all that, before you were going to college, were you playing music or writing music, or was this just something you picked up?
No, I started really young. Like, I started playing guitar when I was 12. Maybe 11 or 12, something like that. And as soon as I learned three chords, I was like, I want to write a song. It always seemed like the thing to do. I liked writing more than I liked learning other songs.
Yeah.
And I was writing, and I did some, like, when I was in high school, my junior and senior years, I started playing with a band of some old timers around here. I would sing, kind of front the band. They play like classic country music, and then I did a couple of local like contests, songwriter contests. 92.1 there in Fort Worth did a thing, and I actually won it when I was like 18. So I was doing it, but I didn't at the time. I wasn't really thinking about it, doing it like I'm doing it now.
Yeah.
It just wasn't really. We have a lot of places to play around here. Texas has got a good music scene, so I think I was just content with playing around here, and that was enough for me at 18 or 19, just like playing down at Joe's, hamburger grill on the patio, and 10 of my friends coming. That was cool as it got. I was super
Yeah.
happy with that. And
Right.
at that time, like you've heard some of my music probably, but like I mean, I'm more traditional
Yeah.
in regards to like more traditional country. And yeah, I think it's 2012, 2013, like everything that was on the radio was like super pop.
Yeah.
And even the whole time I was coming up, I mean, it was the 2000s was not like the golden era of traditional country music by any means.
No.
So that was another part of it too. I was like, well, the stuff I'm doing is really not that commercial anyway, so I'll just stick around Texas, which
Yeah.
I still do a lot. Like, I'm still probably more of a Texas artist than anything else. But now that I've been going to Nashville, I've got a place up there and spend half my time up there. So I'm kind of
Now,
making inroads.
I want to ask you that, right? How much of a difference is it? I mean, I know it's a difference, right? But like when you're home in Texas doing your thing, and then you got to make that transition to Nashville, like it's two very different worlds.
Man, like, yeah, it's totally different. I mean, the whole industry is so different. Everything's so much bigger in Nashville in the sense of like, Music Row and these massive offices and thousands of people who are staff writers for publishing companies and things like that. And then Texas, what's interesting about Texas is, at least at the level that I'm at right now, I can make a lot more money playing in Texas because it's still pretty saturated. Like, there's still a lot of artists here, but it's not like Nashville.
Right.
I mean, you can not get paid to do anything. I think of the 4 years I've been going to Nashville, I think I've gotten paid twice to play, and it
Yeah.
wasn't
Yeah.
very much. And here it's like, unless it's a charity thing, people are gonna pay you, and they're glad to.
Right.
So that's a big difference. I will say one thing about, from my experience, Nashville is like, it's hard to judge because when I went to Nashville, I just had that song on Yellowstone.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people maybe wanted to write with me because they wanted to get a song on the show. But people are really welcoming in the music business in Nashville, way more than I expected. Because
Yeah.
you hear stories about, people getting screwed and scammed up, and that happens for sure. But just so I was expecting there to people not to be that receptive to just some guy that just got to town. But honestly, people are like shockingly welcoming up there,
Yeah.
even if you're, not as big as them. Like, I've gotten to write with some songwriters that have written just some amazing hit songs. I mean, dozens and dozens of number ones, and I meet them and I'll ask them to write, and they'll be like, "Yeah, sure." It always shocks me. I mean, I hardly ever get told no when I ask to ride with somebody up there because that's the culture, you know.
Yeah. Now let me ask you that. Right? Do you think that could be, because your music and your songs are fantastic, right?
Thank you.
But you're welcome. Do you think that that could be also a shift in where hopefully country music is going, especially in Nashville, where we're seeing, that red dirt, Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas scene like really catching fire without really any help from, labels and all this shit, like,
Yeah,
I think there's a, I'm reading a book right now called Red Dirt Unplugged. And,
I haven't
it's a,
heard about that.
dude, it's a great book.
Really,
Yeah, it is very, very good. I'll send you all the info about it when we're
I
when we're
want to get
done.
it. I love to read. I'd love
And
to read that.
but the author talks about like how like the red dirt scene is never gonna be this big thing, right? And then like he goes back and he's like, I put my foot in my mouth because it's become this big thing,
Yeah,
and it's become a big thing without radio help. And I'm in Massachusetts, right? And I can't tell you. I mean, I don't know if it's because I do this or what, but when bands like, like if Co comes up here, Shane Smith and the Saints come up here, Red Clay Strays come up here, all these guys, they're selling out the rooms they're playing, and
yeah,
nobody's playing them on the radio.
100%. I mean, I think that's a big part of it. I mean, I think like Parker McCollum's from Texas, Co Wetzel. There's a whole bunch that can't list them all, but there's a bunch of guys, and I think from a business standpoint, I don't know. I think that and Nashville wants to get their hands in everything, if there's money
Yeah,
being made. And I think that probably has a lot to do with it. I think for a long time it was, oh, look at these jokesters, they're not even commercially viable and all that stuff. And then you started seeing some artists. Pat Green was one of the guys that kind of, in my mind, I might be wrong about this, but looking back in my memory, like he went to Nashville and had a couple hit songs and kind of after him, I noticed more and more, and there used to be like an animosity from what I hear and what I experience, especially 2010s. It was like people in Texas would look at you funny if you were going to Nashville,
yeah,
but I don't think that really happens so much anymore. I think now there's a lot. Like we're doing a deal. I'm teaming up with Christy Walker over at Aristo PR, and we're doing a stage for CMA Fest. It's called Turn It Up Texas, and for 3 days, it's going to be like all Texas artists.
oh,
So it's going to be
that's
cool.
the
I don't know who all we're going to get yet. We're still trying to figure that out, but just having that, it was an idea I had for a long time. She was gracious enough to entertain me with it, but like I want people from around here. There's a lot of really talented people, and I think those inroads need to be built, and
yeah,
a lot of them probably don't want to sign with a label. It's kind of not the thing to do here unless you get a really favorable deal. Like Cody Johnson was independent forever, and then
right,
finally he signed a deal, and from what I hear, it was very favorable to him because he had so
yeah,
much leverage built up.
right. Well, I mean, that's how you got to do it. I mean,
Yeah,
anybody that knows, Kojo did it probably the best that anybody could ever have done it.
I don't think anybody's ever done it better, man. I
Right?
mean, at this time, and also you gotta. One of the things I always think about is, and it sucks, but the guys that came before, the guys in the '90s and even the early 2000s, like it, you couldn't get out there like you can now, being an independent artist.
Right.
It was a lot tougher. You almost had to have a label or some money stacked up so you could print off CDs and send them out. And now everything's digital
Yeah.
and social media and stuff like that. So I think part of that's the change in technology that's kind of made it possible for these guys to blow up without being signed to Sony or Warner or one of those big outfits.
Right. Right. And it's like, you see it like you see it all the time where it's successful. We keep talking about it where you don't need a machine behind you. You
No.
and it's like now with that being said, you know, the the ladies that you work with over at, I always screw up their name. Is it Aristo or
Aristo
Aristo?
with an
Um,
O, and then there's Arista Records, which is totally
right,
unrelated.
right, all
Yeah,
right. So they, I remember when I first started this show 3 years ago, like they were kind of like smaller, and I can't remember if Juliana was working for them or with somebody else or whatever, but like she was one of my first like contacts
yeah,
that was like, hey, how about this artist or how about that? Like I don't remember, I can't. It's been, I've talked to so many people now at this point that everybody kind
yeah,
of like starts to blend together. Um, but like she was like, here are some names that are like actually doing shit, and it's like,
yeah,
oh, all right, and it's, I had no business talking to some of those people at those times, but um, now, so with that being said, my question was going to be, because you had touched upon it, but was your song that was featured on Yellowstone, did that come before you had people behind you, or was that?
oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I just got I met Christy with Aristo 6 months ago, so like this
Oh, okay.
release and this is like the first legit campaign or what, like this is the first time I've ever even done it right. Everything before that has been like me doing everything myself, which
Yeah,
is now I'm realizing all the things that I wasn't doing or didn't know to do. It's been such a cool experience to work with them, and they're so knowledgeable on these things, and they do a really good job, and they're just really good people
yeah,
too, which is important. Like we just gel in
yeah,
our personal lives and our worldviews and everything. So that's really important, I think. That having that trust there, and yeah, when I got that song on Yellowstone, man. So Taylor Sheridan, the guy that created Yellowstone, he moved 5 miles. He bought a ranch 5 miles away from this place where I grew up. Now, when I come home, at the time I wasn't living here. I had my own place, but since I've got a place in Nashville now, when I come back to Texas, I stay here at the ranch with my mom. And anyways, he moved here, and I still do sometimes, less and less. I don't work nearly as much as I used to, but I had a little business doing tree work and land clearing and stuff like that. So he hired me. This was during season 1 of Yellowstone, so it wasn't the big thing that it is now. But we kind of hit it off and became buddies. And eventually he figured out that I was a writer and I sang, and I never even thought about like getting a song on the show. I didn't even have any music out. Like I
right,
didn't have any music out to the public. It was just I would go play small little bar shows and stuff like that, and I just did it for fun. And ended up becoming friends with him. And like 2 years after I met him during season 3, we were sitting on his porch, and he was like, sometimes when people know that I got when people, my friends that are songwriters, and they know I got the hit show, they'll ask if they can get a song on the show or try to write a song for the show. And I was like, okay, well, what do you got? He had this idea for this scene, which was during season 3, episode 9, which was only like a month away. This was like right in the middle of the season. And it's like, I want a song about the Western way of life and how it's looks like it's dying, but it's still alive and well. It's just changing. And I ended up riding this way of life. It took me a couple of weeks because I didn't want to just force it. I can't
right,
really do that, especially something like that, because that's a topic that's near and dear to my heart. That's part of how I was raised and who I am. So like, if I'm going to do something about that, I want to do it right.
yeah, absolutely,
And I sent him an acoustic vocal demo that I recorded right out that door in the barn. I got a little studio set up in the barn, and I think he listened to it on Wednesday. I sent it to him the day before. He listened to it on Wednesday, called me at like 11:30 at night, woke me up, and he was like, "Man, this is great. We're going to use it." And I was thinking, man, I got to go to the studio. This is just like a demo. He said,
yeah,
"No, we want to use it just like that, raw." So between Wednesday and Sunday, I think is when that episode came on. I went from not having any music out to putting my first song out and it coming out the day that it was on the #1 show in the country. I mean,
right,
talk about a crazy 4 days. It was like, whoa.
yeah.
And
Now,
it was really cool, man. I mean, it was such a blessing meeting him. I think it was a God thing because, like, what are the odds that he gets my number to call about cutting down some trees, and it all leads to that? It's pretty
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Like, so, like, when, for you, we've had a few people on the show that have had songs and, on the show, and everybody says the same thing. It's like the numbers and the explode happens, right?
Yeah.
Now, with your story, did you have like a sense of panic, like, oh shit, like I've got to put out more and fast?
I'm trying to remember what. I guess I put out 2 or 3 more songs. But in a lot of ways, I was just happy as a clam. I mean, I
Yeah.
didn't have the mindset that I have now. I didn't really think about the business side of things or like promotion and stuff like that. I was just kind of like, well, shucks, this is cool, and then I started realizing, oh, like I can do this,
Yeah.
and Taylor was a big part of encouraging me to do that. Like he would always kick me in the butt and be like, man, what have you been doing? When are you putting more music out? And him believing in me was a big part of why I'm doing it. I mean, I've always been writing songs and singing and playing gigs, but just taking it to the next level and having that confidence to do that, a lot of that came from him encouraging me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it took time, and I didn't have a bunch of songs ready necessarily. So, I mean, I have a bunch written, but I didn't have recorded songs already. So I had to get in the studio and record and do all that. And it's just kind of been a learning process ever since then. The last couple of years, I've just been figuring it out as I go. And like I say, this record here is the first time where it's not just been me throwing something out into the world by
Yeah.
myself, not knowing what I'm doing, other than just putting out music that I like. So it's kind of exciting time for me right now.
Yeah. Absolutely. And like you're a testament to this, where like even a lot of the artists we've talked about, have a lot of thanks to Taylor and Yellowstone and all that for where they are, and
Yeah.
I think it's actually helped explode or make this red dirt scene grow because when you have that many people watching a show like that and they hear a song, even if it's a clip, they're going to Spotify or Shazam or whatever and being like, who's what is this song, and it's a ripple effect.
Man, it's crazy, like the effect that has. I mean, that Wednesday, I write the song, send it, or he hears a song. I wrote it Tuesday. I mean, I sent to him the day I wrote it, and by Sunday, it's on the show. And Monday, it was in the top 40 on the iTunes charts and all that. It was like the most Shazammed country song because they used a long clip of it.
Yeah,
And I was not equipped for all that, man. Like, I was getting emails from all these people, and
I'm sure.
I was right in the middle of a big tree job too. I had a bunch of equipment rented, and I had 2 or 3 guys. So it was just, looking back, it's comical, how it all happened. And yeah, if it was, I think it could have been even bigger if it happened now, knowing what I know now and how to
Right.
capitalize on some of that stuff.
Right.
But I'm just thankful that it happened because I wouldn't even be doing what I'm doing now without that. So
Yeah.
it was really
Now,
neat.
was that the moment you said to yourself, "Oh shit, I have to have help"?
Yeah, I was like, man, I need to find eventually. I knew at some point, which is funny, it's tough to find good people in the business that know what they're doing and
That's for
want
sure.
to help you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that want to help and they have good hearts and stuff, but I don't know. I was always real reluctant on who I worked with and who I dealt with, and I didn't want to just have my buddy from my hometown be my manager and all that stuff. And I don't know if that was for better or for worse, but I've always just kind of tried to do as much of it by myself as I can until I got to a point where I literally couldn't. And I think
Yeah.
that's kind of the point that I'm at now, where it's like, okay, I can't do all this now. I keep building this up, and I realize, okay, I need somebody for this, I need somebody for that, and like I say, Aristo's been awesome. They've taken me in and They treat me like a king. Christy, I call her 24 karat Christy because everything she touches turns to gold, man. She's just like, and Juliana too. I mean, Juliana's awesome. I think that's who you were talking to.
Yeah.
But just really awesome women who are super competent, and I don't know, they just have, and they care about the music too. It's not just, you meet a lot of people around Nashville and it's like, I don't even think they listen to country music.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Uh,
You know,
unless it's for their work or something like that. So it's cool to
right.
be around people that really love country
Yeah.
music.
I was thinking about it. I think Juliana's the reason why we had the Red Clay Strays on when we did.
Oh,
Like,
that's awesome.
and that was like within our first year, and like
They've
the
blown
straight,
up, man.
right. And but they had it at the time, like I was talking to them, and when I talked to them, I was talking to Drew, the guitar player, and they were in Washington D.C. at a small club of like probably like 500 people,
Yeah.
if that, and we put out that episode, and then it was like every, I'm not gonna take credit for it's not due, but like after that, it was like they were just like just on this crazy spiral.
Yeah. Upward trajectory. I mean, I
Yeah.
remember like 2 years ago, this was the first time I heard about them. My friend Kimberly Bryan, she was booking me for the Key West Songwriters Festival, and she was like, "Hey, I want you to check out this band, the Red Clay Strays. You need to know about them because they're gonna do things." So I went, I looked them up and listened to their music. I was like, "Oh, this is awesome!" And literally, like 2 or 3 months later, I mean, they were killing it. I was seeing
Yeah.
them everywhere. Stuff can happen so fast
Yeah.
nowadays, too. Even as an
Yeah.
independent artist. In fact, I
Yeah.
think it can happen faster as an independent artist, from what
Oh,
I've
100%.
noticed. Because if you
100%.
get a lot of labels and managers involved, it slows the process down. We got to think about things and come up with plans and strategies, and I mean that's
Right.
necessary to a certain extent. But I think it can kind of be a ball and chain a little bit
Yeah.
because when you've got the buzz, you need to just put music out, keep it going.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not about how much can we nickel and dime this until we get
Right.
every penny out of it. It's like just let it go, man.
Oh, there's been so many people. I mean, I think Taylor would be fine with me saying this, but there's been so many people that have lost opportunities to get their song on Yellowstone because they had some,
Oh, I'm sure.
you know, I dot and T crossing manager who wanted to hold out and ask for way more money than it was worth, or didn't realize and some of them probably never even knew that they wanted to put their song on I mean, I've heard some stories from him that's just like, wow, it's hard to imagine somebody could be that
Mm-hmm.
dumb.
Right.
The number
Right.
one show in the country that has like the biggest playlist and it's known for its music. I
Yeah.
don't care if they don't want to pay you anything.
Right. Right.
The marketing value of that is you can't put a price on it.
Right. Right. And I love that you said, I don't think Taylor would mind me saying. I wouldn't mind if Taylor heard you say it through this medium, to be
Heck
totally
yeah,
honest with
send
you.
it to.
Because shit, to have Taylor Sheridan on this show, I'd probably just close and just be like, I'm done. I
We're
got
done.
I don't know who else
Wrapping
to
it
talk to.
up. He's a character, man. He's cool, a cool guy to talk to. I admire him a lot, man.
Yeah.
And just the fact of what he did for me and stuff like that. I mean, he really cares about, independent guys and underdog guys, and even the people that he casts in his movies. It's way more. It's not about who's the biggest, hottest actor. It's about who he trusts and who he knows,
Yeah.
and he makes that work. Like there's people that have that mentality, but making that work can be tough too.
Absolutely.
It's like a
Absolutely.
testament to his talent as a writer, and as a director and a producer and all the different hats that he wears.
And like, I don't know. Have you watched Landman?
I have. I've watched just 2 episodes so far.
Oh, dude, I'm a big Yellowstone fan, big, right? But I might, and I'm not ashamed to even say this. I think Landman might be even better, and it's only in its first season.
Oh, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be the new Yellowstone,
Yeah.
I think. I was wondering, I mean, I knew that he would have something big after Yellowstone,
Yeah.
and this Landman thing is cool too. I need to send them. I've got a pile of songs that I want to send off to them. I haven't sent them anything for Landman yet because I hadn't
Yeah.
watched it yet. I hadn't had a chance to watch it, and I'm like, well, I got to see what kind of music they're using. It's a
Well,
lot like Yellowstone, though.
they're using a lot of um he's been using a lot of like Treaty Oak Revival and Tanner
Yeah,
Osray and like that sort of like, I don't want to say heavier, but the show's a little more heavier. I
yeah,
think. So like I said, I think I'll say it. I don't give a fuck. Um, Especially if he hears this, because I think it's important. Like, I understand to an extent, because I wasn't in the room. I wasn't, none of us were, right? But I understand having to, in a way, rush the second half of season 5,
right.
right? I get it, right? But I think there was a lot of things that could have been put in that were left on the table, as a fan, right?
Yeah, I mean, heck, I definitely have heard a lot of people say that, and I can see where they're coming from, Because
And
it's so weird how season 5 like stopped because of I think there's a few reasons. I
yeah,
don't have any inside information,
right.
but I know that big strike that they had in
Yeah,
Hollywood was
yeah,
like, and you just got to stop in the middle of a season and then start back up again. What, like a year later, or
yeah,
it might have
yeah.
even been
Because
more than a year.
when the second half, the last 6 or 7 episodes of season 5 came out, I
Yeah,
think I looked back and looked at it had almost been 2 years since the first half of season 5 had come out.
that's crazy. Yeah,
Yeah,
there was
a
such a long
while.
gap in between those.
And then, but like having Yellowstone end and then such a forced like Landman come out, like it's almost like you didn't miss a beat.
No, I think you're right. I wonder if at that time, you got to think from his perspective, like having to put everything on hold for a couple of years. I know that'd be like having to put an album on hold for 2 years. By the time you're already on to something else.
Yeah,
2 years later, it's like kind of hard to go back and put yourself in that same mindset that you were at, especially after taking a 2-year break. You get excited about something else creatively.
right. And in those 2 years, we did get 1883 and 1923, and
Yeah.
the continuation or the prequels to the story, which were great. Um, but it's just I think it wrapped up nice. I think it wrapped up nice enough, but I still feel like there was a lot of things that could have been done.
I wonder what they'll do because I know I've heard. I don't know any of this from like personal firsthand knowledge, but like they're doing some show that's going to be based at the 4 Sixes Ranch that
Yep,
I think maybe follows Jimmy,
yep,
and I heard there might be another one too. So I'm wondering if they'll tie up some of those loose ends in those
yeah.
other shows that'll
That
connect back to Yellowstone, kind of,
yeah,
or
yeah.
can kind of continue the story under a little bit different name.
Right, right. Now with your album, right, and all this stuff that you're pushing, how long was this process for you? Like writing, record, was it all stuff that was written and just needed to be recorded?
Yeah, some of it. So about half the songs I recorded in Texas. Some of them I recorded even like 3 or 4 years ago that I've been sitting on, saving for an album. And then some of them I recorded about 2 years ago in Texas. And then all the songs I recorded in Tennessee are pretty much from the last year. So
Okay.
all the singles that we're pushing, like the first one comes out tomorrow, Watching You Burn. And then there's one called Do You, and another one after that called Bad Girl Good before the part one of the album drops. And all those are from like real fresh, probably the last 6 months, at least the last year. They were written and recorded freshly. And I kind of wanted the album to be a little mix of what I've been working on just recently, in the last year or two in Nashville. And then also some of the stuff that I've over the years in Texas that I put together, songs that I've written and recorded that for some reason or another I hadn't released. There's a couple on there that I had released too, but I wanted to add them to the album because I felt like it made sense. They were from
Yeah.
the same thematically and everything. I'd released them as singles in the last couple of years, but I wanted to add them onto the album too.
Now,
So that's kind of part of it.
did you change any of those songs? Did you like re-record them or?
I re-sang two of them, and then kind of remixed and mastered a couple of them too. So there's only one or two that are just like exactly the same, but there's those two. Are just like I just loved them the way they were, so I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna leave these the way they are. And
Yeah.
like we were talking about at the time I released these songs, it was just as simple as me uploading them online with the zero, not only zero promotion, but now I'm realizing how little I knew even about how to do that. I thought
Yeah.
I kind of had an idea, and I'm like, oh, I didn't have a clue what I was doing, I was just kind of shouting out into the void with the way I was doing social media and things like that. So having learned how to do that stuff, I'm like, man, I really love a couple of these songs, and I want to add them to this album where they actually have a chance, for more people to hear them.
Yeah.
Because in the way streaming is and stuff, I feel like sometimes if a song's not one of your top songs, you go to like my Spotify or Apple Music, you don't really see it unless you really dig through there and go
Yeah.
find them. So I don't know. It's just kind of that part is I'm excited about re-releasing those songs too, because the
Yeah.
reason I wanted to put them on the album is because I love them so much and I never felt like they got a fair shot.
Yeah. Now you said part one of the album. Is this like a two-part thing?
Yeah, there's two parts. So part one comes out in February, and part two comes out in like April, I think. So there'll be 3 singles off this one, 3 singles off the next one.
Okay.
My phone's telling me I've got low storage or something. Let me do something real quick. Here we go. I'll delete a couple of things. I guess I ran out of storage.
I can't tell you how many times this has happened.
Does it?
Yeah.
I guess maybe on Riverside it records natively to your phone or something. I don't know.
I'm not really sure what it does. I thought it recorded right through the app, but
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, I
yeah.
just deleted a couple of things, so I think we might be good. If it cuts out, let me know and I'll
Oh,
jump
there we
back
go.
on. I'll delete a few things and jump back on.
They were back. But yeah, so when is the first half coming out?
First half comes out February 27th, I believe. It's
Okay.
that Friday of that week, whenever that is.
Okay.
I should have that. I had a sheet with all this stuff written down. I left it in the other room. But the first single comes out this Friday. Watching You Burn. Second single, Do You, comes out 2 weeks from this Friday. So there's gonna be like 2 weeks in between each single.
All right.
I
So
always tell people like follow me on Spotify or Apple Music. Go to my profile and follow me so it'll show up in like your release radar and stuff like that.
yeah.
And obviously social media, I post about them when they come out and all that. I'm
So
really excited about this first song though.
I'm wondering if we release this episode the week the album comes out, or the first part of the album comes out.
Yeah, I think that'd be awesome. I'll
Probably
text you
make the most sense.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'll text you the dates once
yeah,
I get that sheet for sure.
and then that way we can, while we're talking, like I said, we don't edit this, so we'll drop this on Tuesday, talk about it, so people can be ready for it on Friday.
Absolutely. That'd be awesome, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I like unedited. I like unfiltered. That's kind of my thing
Yeah, I
too.
don't do
So if
that.
I was doing a podcast, that's how I'd do
I
it
don't do
too.
it. Like we had Lanco on here once,
Uh-huh.
and the lead singer of Lanco said some crazy ass shit, which was awesome to me. And they didn't push the episode too much. I don't.
No, they just let that one go off into
Yeah,
the ether. Well, I
yeah,
know what I'm gonna do after I get off here. I'm gonna go watch the Lenko interview.
yeah. You should go listen to that one. It's interesting for sure.
I'm
That
glad
one
you
in the
told me at the beginning though, because I was like, every once in a while, I'm talking to people or something. I have a habit of being like, "Hey, just between me and you." It's like, no, save that for after
yeah,
the interview.
yeah. It's kind of like we had Chris Cagle on when he
Oh,
was
really?
Yeah, when he was like coming back after his hiatus,
Yeah.
and that was another one. He was like it's out there, so I don't mind talking about it. Like he ripped apart the Nashville establishment, like up and
Good for
down.
him.
It was awesome.
That's exactly what I want to hear, to be honest with you,
Yeah,
especially from somebody like him who's been
right,
through the ringer, you know?
right. And like we've had people that have been on like Idol and The Voice and all that, and like after they've come on and gone and all that, and they're like, "What a hunk of shit that was," or like
Yeah.
it was like, "What?"
You're saying that? Okay.
Right,
Thank you.
right, all
Thank
right.
you.
I can't wait for my cease and desist from NBC, but that's fine.
Right. Do
Uh,
you know, I don't know if you've heard of, I mean, I'm sure you've heard some of his songs, but a guy named Jason Michael Carroll, he
yeah, oh
had
yeah.
like Alyssa Lies and a bunch of Where I'm From, Where I Come From. Man, he's a cool dude. He'd be a great interview, and he's a good friend of mine. We've become great buddies in the last
Well,
couple of years. If you ever
send
want
me
to,
his info. I'll reach out to him.
yeah, and
Hell yeah.
he's as cool as it gets, man. He'll just sit and talk. I mean, he's just a good old boy, and man. It's funny when I write songs with him. We get done, and I always make him sing, on our little iPhone memo or whatever, because he's like one of the best singers that I've literally ever heard in my entire life. And then I get home and I sing them, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this song sounds so much better when Jason's singing it. He's really got like one of those one in a million voices, like because
Yeah,
I've heard so many people sing, and when he sings, it just gives you chills, man.
yeah.
It's crazy.
Now, like, that's kind of like how I feel about like Coulter Wall.
Me too.
Like, Coulter's still what, like 22 years old, and he sounds like he's 62 years
100.
old. But like, it's like, dude, where the fuck? Sorry, I swear a lot. I'm a New Englander, right? But
Oh,
it's
you're
like, dude,
good.
where the hell did you come from? Like, who hurt you?
It's
you know?
amazing, man. I remember the first time I heard him too, and he even now he looks older. Now he kind of matches his voice. But I
Right,
remember when I first heard him, and I remember looking at his picture and being like, "What?
right, right. What is this baby doing? Right, singing these songs?
How do you do that?" I think I'm about the same age as him. I might be a little younger than him, but I remember thinking, "How do I get my voice to sound like that?"
Yeah, yeah. But do you know who Nolan Taylor is? He just came out with his debut.
Yeah, yeah, no, he's good, man. I see him on social media and stuff.
Yeah,
He's real good.
he's another one where it's like, him and I talk quite a bit, and we're talking to his people about getting him on the show, and I say to him all the time, I'm like, Nolan, like, what, like, are you this sad, bud? Because like I
All the
get,
time.
like, damn, man, like, what the fuck, like,
Yeah, I know.
we need
He's
to
got one of
talk,
those voices that's just sad, man.
right? And like to me, like that's, I'm a big like make country music sad again kind of person,
Me too, yeah.
and it's like because it's just so fucking gut wrenching. It's awesome.
I know. I know. I like make country music sad again, and then another thing that I want to kind of bring back. A little bit with this album on a couple of songs, but especially there's going to be a part three. So there's Honky Tonks part one, part two, and I don't know part three. I'm still working on it, but that's going to be like the conclusion, and it's going to be like a lot more fun, like rambunctious, like even funny, somewhat self-deprecating songs. Like some of those classic country songs are so funny and goofy, and I don't know. I miss that a little bit. Like I think people contend nowadays. Everybody, not just musicians, but everybody. It's like you take yourself so seriously, and sometimes it's like I got a song called "Smoking Light Cigarettes and Loving Heavy Women," and that's going to be on part three.
Nice,
But
nice.
just stuff like that, because it just makes people laugh. And I notice when I play my songs live, especially like when I play those more tongue in cheek and funny songs, people just love it. It's just it
Yeah,
breaks up the mood.
absolutely, absolutely. And it like especially if it comes out of nowhere and they're not expecting it.
Yeah, I'll get done playing some super. Cause I got plenty of sad songs too. Way more. I got way more sad songs than I do funny songs. But I'll get done playing my sad song, and then I'll just bust into some song like that. It always makes people chuckle. And hey, man, I want to either make them cry or make them laugh, but
Yeah,
at least something.
absolutely, absolutely. Man, I love what you're doing, man. It's great. You know, the songs are great, the stories are great. Um, you know, it's great to see what you're doing.
I appreciate it, man. I'm glad to have be getting some pretty good feedback from this record. It's hard to know how your music's going to be received because, like, at least I can't speak for anybody else, but for myself, I'm a terrible judge of my own music. Like, when it comes time for me to record a record, I mean, here's the thing: it's like they all mean something to me. The way that I write, like 95% of the songs that I write are very personal. So I have to play them for somebody, my friends or fellow songwriters, some people that I trust, and help them or get them to help me pick what songs I'm going to release because sometimes I just cannot tell, so you always wonder when you put a record out and like the single is coming out it's coming out Friday, January 17th. It'll be already out when this comes out. But man, I'm pretty stoked about that because we've been sending it out, and I don't know if you got a link to it. I'll send you one, but it's a it's a sad song, and everybody was telling me, Christy and everybody at Aristo, they were like, "This needs to be your lead single," and I'm like, I don't know, because it's just sad. I don't know, and it was real personal to me too. So it's like, dang, I feel like I'm just bearing my soul. And I said, well,
Yeah,
that's why it's good. And the
that
feedback so far has been like phenomenal. I'm
that's
thankful
why
that I have people that can steer me a little bit.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean that those are always the best songs, the ones that are, from deep within.
The ones that make you uncomfortable. My friend Leslie Satcher, she's a great songwriter, wrote Troubadour for George Strait. She's written tons of hits. She's probably one of my biggest mentors as a person and as a songwriter. And she said, the best songs are the ones that you feel uncomfortable writing almost, especially if you're co-writing with somebody, because it's the kind of song where you got to tell them, yeah, man, I'm going through some stuff right now. And you got to explain it, and it should make you a little bit uncomfortable to be vulnerable like that. And that's some of the best advice I ever got, honestly.
Yeah, yeah, man. Well, like I said, like I'm excited to see what comes from you and what you're doing because it's what you've already put out is fantastic. So I can only imagine what's
Well,
to
I
come.
appreciate it. I think I'm so excited. I'm excited for this project, and I'm still writing more than I ever have, and I feel like my songs are getting, I don't know if better is the right word, but I think they're getting better. So I'm
Yeah,
really excited for part three in the next 2 or 3 years, like getting some of these songs recorded and out there because I'm feeling real good about things right now. So I
good.
really appreciate your kind words, man.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. And you should, man. I mean, you got a great team behind you. You gotta, you have the talent. You're doing it. Like it's awesome.
I appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah, man.
I'm just glad to be able to do it, really.
Yeah. And then like, if and when you ever make your way up here up into New England, like let us know.
Oh, I dang sure will, man. That's one of my goals this year. I want to get to in 2025. It'll probably be summer, but or fall. But I want to get up to the Northeast because that's one area that I've never really played much, and then kind of like the Midwest, like Illinois, Ohio, some of those type places. So I just always tell people to follow me on whatever Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or whatever they got because I'll post about where I'm playing then. But I'm
Sweet.
hoping with this album coming out, we can make a few miles and get around the country a little more.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
Yes,
Garrett,
sir.
good luck, man. And for everybody that's watching, listening, whatever, go get the album on Friday. Whatever
Heck yeah.
whatever date it
And
is. We'll figure it out then.
yeah, just look it up. By the time you're seeing this, there'll be new music out. So go
Right.
and go check it out,
Right.
man. Jim, I appreciate it, buddy. This has been
Oh, hell
fun,
yeah,
man.
man. And hey, man, you have my number. So anytime you need anything or whatever, like just shoot a text, man.
I will. Be careful what you wish for, brother.
Bring it on. Bring it on.
All
All
right,
right,
man.
brother.
Well,
We'll talk
it's
soon.
been a blast, Jim. Thank you
Yeah,
so
man.
much for having me
It
on.
has. It has. Thank you for everything. I appreciate you.
All right, buddy. I'll see you soon.
All right, bud.
Bye.
Bye. Well, there you have it, everybody. Our conversation with Garrett. Garrett, thank you again from the bottom of our heart for being here. Go get his album. It came out last Friday. It's already out. I know we talked about it coming out this Friday. We fucked up. So, thank you again for being here. Again, thank you to everybody for being a part of this show. Um, you're not going to get anything but real, authentic conversations here, as you saw here today with Garrett. So thank you again to everybody. Until next week, guys, be good to each other. Keep those boots on the ground and the whiskey in the glass. Cheers, y'all.